Even though I am the smartest, I don't know how to start this. Well, at least sometimes I feel that way. I don't know how to say this shit. My happiness is still there, but it's feeling like it might be leaving a little bit. And the fear of that happening is soaring and searing with a heat so intensive, it's beating me down. It seems like it's senseless to try to fight it, but my fright is there, so I still feel instilled with the necessity to try to maintain it, to reclaim it. But it's maiming me. I don't know how to be anything else. The worries that I'm used to are not amusing. They are creeping in because that speck of happiness has diminished even for a little bit. And now those waves are flooding in over and over again. And the isle that remains is getting smaller as the waves crash and more sand gets pulled back into the ocean in continuous motion, so that that notion of happiness that is so beautiful to me gets more and more foreign every second, every hour of every day. And I don't know a way to make it stop. I try to stay atop of it, but when the proportion of worry to happiness is so overwhelming to one's side, it is difficult to hide that fact, even from oneself. And even if one were not to hide it, it is difficult not to focus on it. It's like a locus on all the grain, all what's growing, at least was growing. Probably my voice is showing that fear, possible even desperation, of losing happiness again, but I won't even pretend I even had it in the first place. I'm mad, but I don't burst. I race to try to find a way to anchor it in some way before it disappears completely. So neatly, into my old patterns, into my old rhythms. I don't know. There's this schism that just is difficult to be overcome. It's overrun by this constant thread of thought. What ought to be, what should be sought. And then it's worried that these things are an inevitable impossibility. A threat to all that live with the will to be anything greater. But that passive self-hate that's still there is quite scary in the way it attempts at times to reclaim and become heir to my mind. But it won't find a way to do so. I'm not that far behind. I'm still happy, to be honest, I still am. But now the worry is more possessive, more oppressive in its way, of trying to display the fragility of it all. It might soar again, it wasn't even a down mood, it wasn't just as high, which would be weird to expect to persist anyway. I messed up that sentence, but you get what I was saying. So, I don't know how to continue on necessarily. I sort of don't want to accept this loss, but at the same time at a loss of what to do. I don't know how I could construe it in a different way, to have it be maintained for even a little bit longer. I'm honest, it's still there, it's in the background, creeping through once in a while. But as you hear, that worry is just piling over. No four-leaf clover can bring me enough luck to duck out of this situation. I don't know. The sensation is quite strange. To still have that joy, but not quite have access to it at the same time. It's in the same way that history rhymes. One notices the similarities, but it's not quite the same. And I'm not even assigning blame to myself, to anything else, or the like. I just have to admit that I'm, to a certain extent, frightened. I'm chuckling now because I realize how deep-rooted that fear is. That it's near it, trying to steer me again. So it's a very circumventable end. Damn. I'm not sure if it is circumventable in the end, though. That's what I would really like to know. I will definitely hold on to that tidbit of joy and nourish it, and even just seek to retain the memories that I might create, this elation that pushes aside that self-hate that I actually, for the most part, managed to get over quite a while ago. But some of it, of course, lingers. A small pile or so. But so far it hasn't bred much. And it is still not breeding. But it is the worry that is feeding on its maintained existence that calls into the question the persistence of whatever joy I might find. And I'm not even sure if that's true. That's just what my mind is saying in an attempt to rhyme at the same time. So there might be a little bit of falsehood automatically ensuing, but I'm not trying to be misconstruing. I try to be clear. Try to display how I feel, my fears, how they're near. But this gear is still reeling, it's still turning. Still thinking, still yearning, trying to earn this approval as if it need to be earned. Joy has no such limitation, no such request associated with it. Prerequisite was the word I was looking for. Doesn't matter. My throat is sore. And so is my mind, trying to find this tidbit still floating around. But even the question is it anywhere to be found? Well, it seems to be. I got a message, and this is a good time to leave it be, because I don't know what else it would say. I think I'm starting to repeat myself over and over. Sort of like my mind is probably doing right now, trying to sober up the thought, try to find a way to make it a bit more calming, a bit easier to either accept the embalming of this joy that will pass away, or find a way, as I said, to maintain it. This is a strange sort of pain, especially since the joy persists. Some sadomasochistic tendency. I love that word. And it's absurd how often it applies. That's not even a lie. And with that, I'll say goodbye.